Okay, starting with question 12. A hypothesis is a guess, like flipping a coin. I'm going to take true or false on this one because some people describe a hypothesis as an educated guess, um, meaning you have to have some background knowledge before you make a decision as to what you think the outcome will be. So on Edulastic, it said that this one was false, but there is some truth to it being a guess because you don't really know the outcome. What is a controlled experiment? It's an experiment where you only test one variable at a time. Um, Going to the next question. This is drop and drag and drop. I'll say it right here in a minute. They want you to define these terms. Um, when doing these type of tests, I would read through your options and pick out the ones that are easiest to figure out. Um, so to analyze, um, if I were to analyze something, I would probably um, look at the available information and indicate whether something is true. Um, Explain the meaning of information, words, or actions would be interpret. The expected outcome of a hypothesis is accurate. That would probably be my prediction. Um, Discover or reveal something through detailed examination could be evidence. And a statement that makes something clear is an explanation. Okay. A control group. Is it an experiment that you don't change any variables? An experiment where data is collected? Experiment where you only test two variables at a time? Experiment where you only make quantitative observations? For a control group, it's the norm. So I think that it's where you don't uh, change any variables at all. It's like your control group, like the runners who had water, that was something pretty normal. This one here, identify the independent variable. Scientists wanted to see if the temperature affected male-female ratio in alligator eggs. They took 5 clutches of eggs, placed them in different incubators. Each incubator had a temperature of 5 degrees difference from the others. Each had a humidity of 87% and received 16 hours of simulated sunlight. The independent variable, well, what it was that they were changing was the temperatures. Was it a good idea to do? What is a good idea to do when testing paper airplanes? Mark 2. Test one variable at a time. Do it outside to get a good breeze. Make each airplane the same way. This one here would be A and C. There's no guarantee you're going to get a good breeze outside. What is the variable called that you are changing? And one way of looking at this is, what am I changing that to make it different? So the I change is the independent I variable. That's what you are changing. Controlled experiments include variables. Which statement describes the difference between an independent variable and a dependent variable? So the independent variable is what you're changing. So that rules out this one. It rules out this one. It rules out this one because the independent variable is not the result. The independent variable is what you're testing, and the dependent variable is the result of that change. So that one's D. How many independent variables should you test at a time? You only need to have one thing that you're changing, so it's one independent variable. Which of the ideas below is a good characteristic of a scientific experiment? You want to have controlled surroundings. The larger your sample size, the better your data will be. You don't want to change procedures around. You want one procedure so everything stays the same and you're just testing that one variable. So if you do repeated trials and get the same results all the time, that's a characteristic of a good scientific experiment. Graph shows the number of zebra mussels occupying the bottom of the Hudson River in unit numbers of mussels per square meter. Zebra mussels live better on hard surfaces than on soft ones. This is the number of zebra mussels. This is how many they had over the years. The above graphs asking, let me move this picture. What were the peak years for the zebra mussel population? Peak years are your high points. So this one here, it looks like it's at 92. This one here is between 96, 98, which would be 97. This one here is around 2007. So this one here, based on the graph, I would choose that answer. This one here is putting in order of the scientific method steps. So based upon what you're seeing, you'd probably make an observation first. And then after you see something that weird, you might say, well, this is the problem. You form a hypothesis. You'd test the hypothesis. You'd analyze your results. You would make your conclusion about whether your hypothesis was right or wrong. And then you might want to share your results with others. Two birds are fed different types of birdseed to determine which type causes the bird to gain more weight. Which of the following is an experimental error? Pretty much, they're talking about two birds. Which seed gains more weight? There's pretty much, I don't think this is a great question that was on here. They don't really tell you whether birds are different or not. They don't tell you whether or not how much seed they get. Nothing's mentioned about light and heat. So pretty much I wouldn't pick all of these because they don't talk about light and heat. That's why D, you can't really say because it's not mentioned. So in this one here, I would go with the controls are mentioned. Okay. Use the diagram to answer the question. Thermometer above correlates Fahrenheit and Celsius. Scales according to the thermometer. Which of the following sentences is true? Water boils at 212. This is normal body temperature. It freezes here. You can swim in water that's 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It's almost boiling at 212. You can boil eggs in water that's 100 degrees Celsius. That one would be true. You can skate on water that is 10 degrees Celsius. It freezes at 0, so you don't need to be skating on it at 10. Your body temperature is about 100 degrees Celsius. Your body's not boiling. So this here is your best answer. In a controlled experiment, a control group is compared to an experimental group. All right, and I'm going to conclude this video of numbers 12 through 26, and I'll finish in the third video.